every day felt a little bit like a slow, painful death. There's a lack of knowledge about how to turn it into an actual profitable business. Your business got destroyed by a Google update. Never build a house on rented property. Why am I going to waste time and energy doing that? Put yourself into the shoes of the customer, not the searcher, but the customer. And you have to really go through that buyer process yourself. It's too competitive. It's too saturated. SEO is not in high demand anymore. They want to outsource everything. They crush it. Don't get me wrong. People quit too early. I know that if I can get you to watch a 10-minute video, you're going to become a client. It's just a muscle that you have to exercise. So you're going to get no likes. You're going to get 5 views. It's part of the process. Post on LinkedIn every day. Just talk about what you're doing and start walking today. In 30 days, 60 days, 180 days, you are going to be in a completely new place. I promise you.
Welcome to today's episode where we are joined by Ryan Stewart, a mastermind in the field of digital marketing and the managing partner at Riot Stewart Consulting, Webris, and the Blueprint Training. Today, he's here to dive deep into the evolving landscape of SEO, discuss the effectiveness of various sales channels, and share insights on how agencies can thrive in an increasingly competitive environment. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Ryan, thanks for coming on. To start, why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself and your background in SEO?
Yeah, so I've been in this space for about 15 years. After college, I graduated and I took a job in corporate consulting. Every day felt a little bit like a slow, painful death. And I started looking around on the internet. This is way back in the day. This is before Instagram. This is back when it was MySpace dying and turning into Facebook. And I stumbled across the beginnings of internet marketing. And that basically took me down a wormhole, failed forward, basically to where I am now. And yeah, I've been servicing clients for 12 years, run a few of my own businesses that have run on SEO, sold a few of them. I'm entrenched in this business. I sometimes don't consider myself an SEO because my practicing skill set is no longer in SEO, but my businesses are SEO businesses. My agency, Webris, primarily focuses on search marketing, a lot of local SEO, a lot of content development, a lot of paid ads as well, and paid search. Exclusive for law firms. In the Blueprint Training, we specialize in working with SEO agencies and really helping them build better business practices, because I think that there's no shortage of information about how to do SEO, but there's a lack of knowledge about how to turn it into an actual profitable business that doesn't require you to give up your liver and all of your time to run the business. And then Ryan Stewart Consulting is fractional CMO stuff where SEO is a part of it, but a lot of paid traffic, a lot of other types of strategies, systems, processes, things along that, hiring, putting teams in place. Yeah, so lots of experience. Happy to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about today.
Okay.
So far,
we've had a few off and on, and I was reading a lot of people are having them, and I don't know, just for the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's weird. Ryan, you mentioned that you had your businesses with a really strong foothold within SEO, but you perhaps wouldn't consider yourself in the trenches of SEO anymore. Yeah. That being said, what do you think the future of Google looks like? Do you think it's in trouble from what we've seen from recent updates and Google leaks? What are you hearing from clients? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think Google's in trouble per se. I think that Google will remain the main doorway or entry point to the internet for a lot of queries. I do think that it's going to be fractured though in the coming years. I think that platforms like ChatGPT is going to continuously pick up usage and adoption for certain queries, TikTok for certain queries, YouTube for certain queries. So the concept of search is not going to die because the internet is a very big place that needs an entry point. But Google has been the traditional entry point. They've kind of built I don't like to use the term monopoly around it because I'm a capitalist. I don't believe that. I believe that they built it. They own the rights to it. They can do whatever they want with it. Mm-hmm. But they have monopolized search in the sense that they know that they own 90% of market share for a search engine. They've kind of eroded their own product in a lot of ways with too many ads, too many features. It's not as clean of a product as it once was, with a big caveat for certain queries. I say that a lot because this is where SEOs, I think, go wrong, is that they make a lot of noise and they complain about stuff that they probably shouldn't be focused on anyways. Take the travel industry, for example, right? It's one that got decimated by Google updates. I'm a bit of a Twitter troll sometimes. I go back and forth with people on there, especially when this content stuff came out. And it's not that I'm unempathetic to it, that your business got destroyed by a Google update, but I'm kind of unempathetic to it because rule number one is you never build a house on rented property. If your entire business ran on Google traffic, you don't have a business. You don't. You had a hobby, you had a good money-making tactic, you had something, but what were you doing before Google? Like, you should have been doing other stuff too. You should have been creating short form video content for social platforms. You should have figured out some sort of profitable paid traffic or collaborations or partnerships with other creators, right? To put all of your eggs in the Google basket is just asinine. And then also too, the type of queries that are getting eroded are mainly informational queries. So Google AI overviews is getting pulled back very quickly. Google kind of launched it, and then now they're backtracking it. It's showing up for less and less queries. I think it's like 4% of internet queries, which are all purely informational queries anyways. Like, as an SEO, again, this is a disconnect that I spoke about before in terms of there's a ton of information about SEO and how to do it. I won't pretend to be the best in the world at that. But what I will put my stamp on is the fact that SEO is a business and you're selling a service, and the goal of that service is not traffic, it's customers. Like, the goal of what you should be doing is driving customers. And a lot of agencies, specifically SEO agencies, somewhere along the line when this industry got bloated, they forgot that, or they never knew that, and they never optimized for that. So yeah, their traffic and keyword rankings are getting eroded, but for trafficking queries that never really made anybody any real money. Now, you could argue in the travel industry that, yeah, they're making money off banner ads and affiliate deals. That's fine. But like, the sands shift in business all the time. And like, Google hates affiliate. They've hated it for a long time. They hate banner ads. It's a bad experience for customers. Like, if that's how you made your money, again, it wasn't a business. It was a money-making hustle. Like, nobody likes to get freaking bombarded with ads all over a website. Like, you have a bad product, right? Like, nobody wants to get recommended products that you don't use just because you're making money off it. Like, you have a bad product, right? So the affiliate industry also kind of like came out my neck on Twitter a lot too, which I love, by the way, because, you know, I talk about it all the time. Like, you don't have a business, like, you got to hustle, and that's great. You made money off it for a while, but like, grow up, adjust, and figure something else out. Like, Google's going to do what they believe is best for their product. And whether we agree with it or not, a lot of the times I don't, in terms of like the changes that they made to their platform. It doesn't matter what I think, and it doesn't matter what you think. The fact is that you're still going to use Google, and for a lot of queries, right? And that's, again, the caveat. So going back to that, you're going to be, people are watching this like, Ryan, you run an SEO agency. Like, what are you even talking about? Well, because we focus purely on bottom funnel queries. Like, our entire business model and our entire offer and pitch is built on the fact that we're going to make you money. Like, we're not just going to rank you for keywords that go up in Ahrefs and show you that traffic graph. Like, I don't care about it. I actually gave a pitch yesterday that I closed on the spot because I found, my sales team found a perfect competitor for this business that was only getting 500 visits a month according to Ahrefs, but $50,000 worth of traffic value off of that. Like, think about that for a second, right? So the traffic value is equated based on if you were to pay for that organic traffic with paid search. And the reason is because they were ranking in the legal space for very, very competitive, very high value, very expensive keywords that are like $300 to $500 per click. So that is a great example of the fact that like, traffic is kind of a vanity metric, like, not completely a vanity metric, but in the sense that, you know, not all keywords, not all queries are created equal. And like, if you're not focused on queries that are going to drive business value for your clients, and you're not going to be in business for very long. So in my opinion, for what we see, like, Google is going to protect those queries because that's how they make their money. Like, they don't care about like 10 things to do in Italy when you're traveling. Like, they don't make money off of that. There's no intent behind that search. They can't sell ads there in terms of pay-per-click ads. And they were, I'm sure, extremely tired of bloggers coming in and websites coming in and just creating kind of subpar content and siphoning that revenue into crap affiliate deals, which in a sense is ruining Google's product because it's eroding the trust that searchers have. Because if you look for recipes or travel or tons of verticals in Google, you're like, this is a freaking wasteland, dude. Like, I don't want to scroll through 50 articles and open these up in tabs and get bombarded by ads and like have to jump down to find the actual ingredients in a recipe. It's a mess. Like, you go to ChatGPT for that now, right? Or you go to like AI overviews. That's why they tried to launch it. They did a bad job with it, but that was what they were trying to do. Like, they were trying to do what they believe was best for the product, which is ultimately what's best for the searchers. But if you take a step back and you're like, okay, I don't need that traffic anyways. Why am I going to waste time and energy doing that? Because that's why you're churning clients anyways, because you're not making them money. You focus on bottom funnel queries, and those queries will always be protected with Google because that's where they're going to sell ads. They're going to sell local service ads. They're going to put the Maps pack in there, which is a great product for Google. It's also a great product for SEO if you can rank people there. And they're going to sell paid search ads, right? That's how they make their money. Those queries are going to be protected. They're not going to jam AI in there. They're not going to jam garbage in. And you can easily get visibility for those. And if you take a step back and say, okay, my job is to get visibility for these keywords for my client, how am I going to do that? You know, it might not be SEO. Maybe it's paid search. Maybe it's LSAs. Maybe it's local SEO. Maybe it's advertising in Avo because Avo is ranking really, or Reddit because they're ranking really well for those queries, right? Like that's where SEO is going, is it's search optimization. It's not just Google optimization. It's not just organic blue link Google optimization. It's taking a step back as a business owner and saying, if I'm paying a vendor for marketing services, they better damn sure make me money or they're not going to be around long, and take the same approach to building your service, which is much more of a total holistic search optimization. So that's where I think search is going. I don't think it's dying by any means. I think it's changing, but it's always been changing. And, you know, I've been in this for 15 years and I've seen multiple iterations of agencies and algorithms and Penguin and Panda and just wipe people out. And it tends to wipe out a lot of the people that didn't want to change with it, because SEOs are traditionally very hesitant to change, understandably so. And they go and they do something else, and it creates more opportunity in the market with less competition. And those who are willing to adapt and understand that business is always changing, it's a great business to be in. You know, like clients are always, especially like if you're aligned with the right type of client, like lawyers are always going to need an agency. They're never going to do it themselves, right? And they don't care if it's coming from Google. They don't care if it's coming from billboards or radio. They just want leads. And if you know how to drive that business result, and you know how to do that, making the economics work for your client, like right now for us it's search marketing, but in 5 years it might be TikTok. And like I'm happy to make that pivot because I'm not aligned to SEO. That's why I said I don't acknowledge myself as an SEO. I happen to do SEO because I've aligned that to the right vertical. But if Google were to make a change like travel for the legal industry, we would pivot in a heartbeat, and we'd go to our clients and be like, look, like Google's not really a great investment for you anymore, but we know what to do. It's meta ads. Like we've got a process for you. Like give us a month, let's test it out and let's see how it goes. And then we would pivot completely off of that and be happy to do it. So it's what I see the future of search and where we're going, but it's really just history repeating itself. It's kind of where we've always been going. It's just getting a lot more aggressive, and it's getting a lot harder because there's a lot more people and a lot more businesses. Google is no longer a free real estate grab anymore where anybody can get visibility, and people want to complain about that, corporations, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's the world we live in, you know, always has been.
Yeah. You mentioned quite a few things that I want to dive into, but first I want to ask, what other niches do you think, like that first point of entry will start to move away from Google? There's a lot of talk about Perplexity taking some, and then some searches, AI overviews, of course, taking up real estate, a younger generation looking more on TikTok for certain types of things. What niches do you think maybe should start to look at those that in the future Google is going to be less relevant?
E-commerce. I would not, if I like, so I don't do a lot of e-com. I do mostly B2B stuff, mostly higher ticket type B2B stuff. So like home services, lawyers, plastic surgery, HVAC. If I was going to do SEO, like if I was going to just do SEO, that's what I would focus on. I actually have a really good video on my YouTube channel I just published last month. That's like 3 niches that you should focus on if you're going to be an SEO for the future. You can check that out. But as part of my fractional offer, I work with a cannabis company, and they're actually like B2B to C, because they sell through dispensaries to customers. So you know, I'm kind of exposed to a lot of different marketing strategies, but they also launched their own apparel store that they've fully funded because they're a $250 million company. And, you know, the initial conversations, they were like, hey, like, let's do some SEO. I'm like, for what? Like, you sell a commodity. Like, there's millions of people that sell shorts, t-shirts, hats. There's no differentiator here. It's not a good place. Like, and even like a better question is asking yourself, like, we're all internet users. We spend 8 hours plus a day on our phones using the internet. How do you access this stuff? Like, how do you find apparel? How do you buy clothes? Like, how do you put yourself into the shoes of the customer, not the searcher, but the customer, and really ask yourself, like, how do you discover X, Y, Z? Like, if I'm looking for, my air conditioning broke last month. How did I find a contractor? Well, I went to Google and I typed it in and I clicked on an LSA and I called 3 of them. And the first one that showed up had my business. Why? Because there's a sense of urgency. I'm in Florida. I can't live with my air conditioning broken. If somebody shows up and gives me a good service with a reasonable quote, I'm going to hire them, right? That's, again, why like search marketing lends very well to that vertical, because there's high intent, there's a sense of urgency, and the customer acquisition cost on that, it's a minimum of $500 just for them to show up and do some work. So there's enough room for that HVAC company to hire an agency and go through the acquisition cycle profitably. Now, if we're talking about an e-commerce store that sells apparel or other lower ticket items, like the average cart value for that client's website is like $72. You know, like, and people don't just like Google hat and buy a hat. Like, very rarely do they do that, you know? If anything, they're looking for something very hyper specific that they've already researched elsewhere, and they're finishing their search in Google, right? Like, viral TikTok black hat snapback dance video, whatever it is, right? Or like white Nike size 12, like Air Force Ones, right? Like people are going there very specific. And a lot of the times, this is where SEOs also make the argument, is they're looking at last touch attribution channels, because that's what analytics defaults to, last touch. So if people finish through Google, then it's going to attribute as a sale. And people are like, oh my God, like, of course, like SEO is dead, huh? LOL. It's like, yeah, dude, because like, did you modify it by the query? Like, of course, like they typed in exactly what they wanted. They typed in your product, like you can't attribute that to Google. And that's kind of like a lot of the broken conversation, is that for a lot of verticals, like SEO is being unfairly credited, when in reality, they saw ads or they saw TikTok. So like e-commerce is one of those ones where like you also have to understand why people buy clothing. Like people buy clothing to make a statement to the world about who they are. It's like for the most part, right? Not everyone, but for the most part. Like, so they see it on people that they think are cool or that they align to, like on TikTok, celebrities, whatever. They see ads that drive like the value of the product's usage. So like, my wife just had a baby 4 months ago, and she's going through postpartum stuff, and she saw this dress where like it ties, and it's a really good, like, she sent me the video because I asked her, it's like a corset dress on top where like it ties and it like gives you shape. So she bought 4 of them because it was it had a very good function. But like, you're not going to find that on Google. You're just not. You're not going to find that type of top funnel discovery, and even like pushing all the way through the purchase cycle, right? So Google, for a lot of spaces, like, you just have to kind of ask yourself, like, is this how I buy? Is this how I discover and buy? And you have to really go through that buyer process yourself. And it does start with yourself. It's like the easiest thing to do. People are always like, how do I find a niche? I'm like, well, like, if you want to use SEO as a service, if you don't want to learn something else, that's fine. But like, you have to make sure that SEO is the driver, is in full control of the conversion process for that type of customer. So like, you look at like a gym as another example. Like, you're like, okay, well, I do local SEO, so like and I love fitness, so let me do gyms. It's like, well, people don't really just go to Google and type in gym near me and go sign up for a gym. It's just not the way that it works. Like, it's a much more of a social play, coupons, ticket, like discounts, like community events, referrals, like seeing friends there. UGC is like really big, like getting the gym to constantly like post people that are there and tag, and like kind of like spreading it, just an organic word of mouth. It doesn't work like that. Plus the acquisition cost, like a gym is like $99 a month. Like, how many customers do you have to get a gym for them to pay you a reasonable retainer? Like $2,000 a month is like the minimum that you should charge for SEO. You have to get them 20 new customers a month, right? It's a lot. It's a lot of new customers. It's just, the economics won't work out. Gyms don't make that much money. Like, most gyms that are humming make like $50,000 a month. Like, the economics don't really work out. So you have to ask yourself, just like with the HVAC, like, is this an industry where people are using Google to really find, discover, and convert? That's why I love legal, because car accident lawyers, DUI, divorce, like, these are very, very lucrative clients for law firms. Like, we're talking 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, sometimes in the millions for injury and accident cases. People are going to Google and typing that in, and they're calling the first result. And if you have a good sales and intake process, you can close them on the spot. So that aligns perfectly to what we're selling, because we can impact that acquisition attributed directly to us with no question of it. And we can make the money, very quickly. Doesn't always work, not gonna lie, but like the foundation and the strategy behind it works. Plastic surgery is another good one, like men's cosmetic. Like, I cover this all in this video of like our discovery process and the criteria that I run through, but you have to be very, very mindful, if you want to stick with SEO as a service, of what vertical you're working with. And like, even before that, like, you have to be vertical specific. If you want to offer SEO as a service, you can't do it for everyone. You just can't. You're going to fail. It's going to kill you operationally. It's going to kill your acquisition. You're not going to be viewed as a specialist. You're not going to be able to create content. You're not going to be able to market yourself. It's too competitive. It's too saturated. SEO is not in high demand anymore. It's just not. There's too many other channels that are pulling budgets away. You have to be a vertical. You have to specialize. That's like number one. There's no way around that. If you're not specialized, you need to do it right now, because you're literally making your life 100 times harder for yourself. And yeah, like, if you're going to offer SEO as a service, then you need to make sure that SEO is actually a good acquisition channel for that, because your role is to make people money. If you don't make people money, it is going to be very, very, very hard for you to build a business. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then you're in the wrong business. Like, marketing especially SEO somewhere along the line became more of a professional services industry, probably because it got very bloated, it got very fat. Companies were hiring internally, it became a job, not an it originally kind of started as like an entrepreneur's vertical to make money, and then over time it became like, oh, we're hiring internal SEOs, became like professional certifications. That's not why we're here. Maybe for like a small 1% of companies at the top, like Target or something, where you're doing like just technical SEO and cleaning up like bad URLs and stuff, that's fine. But like, if you're watching this podcast, that's not you. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not. 99% of us in this space like need to focus on making clients money if you're in the services space, or if you're doing it for yourself. Like, you're not doing SEO for your own business just to get traffic, are you? Like, you're doing it to make yourself money. So yeah, I kind of rambled there. I don't know if you had any more. You said you have questions on that.
I'd be interested to ask, you mentioned that obviously we need to know if SEO is going to be a service that can serve a specific vertical. You also seem quite confident in the sense that legal in its current acquisition, SEO as a strategy is working very nicely for you. Are you sensing any shift in legal from your experience as an agency owner with customers moving in any way away from Google? And are you doing any groundwork in preparing for what you said you would be very fast to pivot? I'm just wondering if you are laying the foundations for a pivot of any sort.
Yeah. So another reason why I do love the legal industry is they're kind of like 5 years behind. They
give you plenty of time to prep.
Yeah, they're not. Look, I mean, they're lawyers. You know, like they're not. Yeah. This isn't what they do. Like, they don't even know how to access their own websites. You know, like they want to outsource everything. You know, they don't want it on their plate. It's too much for them to handle. So in a sense, no, like we haven't been pushed. Like, there's still a pretty, I wouldn't call it a demand, but there's still a need for SEO for legal because of what I just said. Like, if you really break it down, like I have so much marketing content for us that drives a lot of leads for us, which is like, okay, I have a video where I literally go through like every single marketing and advertising channel available for law firms, like billboards, radio, TV, and I have it like on a 3 kind of rating scale basis: cost, effectiveness, I forget what the third one is, right? And then I kind of rate and review them all. And SEO comes out on top, like specifically local SEO comes out on top. But anything in search marketing comes out on top because think about it this way: if you're a car accident attorney, again, incredibly lucrative space, or a divorce attorney, or a business attorney even, right? People aren't scrolling Instagram taking a dump, like looking for like legal, like looking for like car accident information. It's such an in the moment of need service, right? Like, you get in a car accident, like you're looking for somebody now. That's not to say that social media is ineffective, but social media requires so much effort, so much content. These guys don't want to do it. They want to do it, but they never execute it properly. The ones that do execute it properly, they crush it. Don't get me wrong, but like, guys, how much content it takes. It's too much. And like, also, like, how much content can you create about stuff in that space where it's not incredibly boring and repetitive? So advertise, like billboards, same thing. They're like, I'm in Miami, it's $10,000 a month just to get a billboard that like nobody sees, like and nobody's driving by like at 90 miles an hour, like, oh my God, I gotta go. They're like writing down the number. It doesn't happen. Like,
if they are, they need to ring
exactly. Because I got a car accident right in front of the billboard.
Right. Yeah.
So the intent behind search of somebody going there and saying, I need a car accident, or like, I got a DUI, because it's also a very private thing. Like, people aren't posting on their Instagram story, but like, hey, anybody got a DUI attorney referral? Like, a lot of these things are very private, and Google has the ability or the added benefit of being very private for a searcher. So I tell my clients all the time, we are not a search agency. We're a law firm lead generation agency, and we're always going to do what's best for you. Now, we're not an outsourced one because I believe in building equity into your business, not into my business. So creating content, building links, all these things are going to build equity for you over time, getting reviews for your profiles. Like, all these things are equity in your business versus pay per lead, which is me running ads and just delivering them to you, right? So we're a lead generation firm that works with you, for you, fully transparent. And right now we use search. Now, we do have about 10% of our portfolio that we're running meta ads for. We'll probably start to scale that up a little bit more. But like, every time I do, it's just like website design. Like, we have 3 clients right now that we're building websites for. And every time we build a website, I swear I'll never do it again, because it breaks our process. And like, it requires so much from them, like reviewing of content, reviewing of pages, building a video. And like, it takes them 5 days to answer an email because they're busy. They're in court, they got clients, they got employees. Like, it's just, search marketing allows us to do everything for them. We do an onboarding
and
call,
deliver results.
and that's it. That's all that they need. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say the perfect vertical, but like it's a very good vertical for what we're doing. Now that of course doesn't mean that we're not constantly looking at new things. I'm actually developing a training program right now, like the blueprint for law firms, because what we are seeing is a mass exodus off of like wanting to pay agencies a big retainer every month because they've just been burned so many times before. So it's gotten harder and harder to sell it. So we're creating a training platform at low ticket, like $300 a month, for access to like do it yourself material. Because in all honesty, like you can do local SEO yourself. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. It's optimizing your profile, getting reviews. That's basically at the core of it, right? So we're building that and going to start downselling people into that to try and build kind of like a low ticket offer for them to kind of like mitigate what we're seeing, because you know, our close rate isn't great. Our proposal close rate is good. If you get to the proposal stage, which it just takes time to get there, we're at like 40 to 50% close rate. But to get somebody qualified to a proposal rate, meaning like they agree on the scope ahead of time, they agree on the pricing, they agree on the timelines, it's like 10% of leads that we can in like are really fully qualified to do that. And it's, you know, that breaks the economics of my business. So we're looking at, you know, because we run a lot of paid traffic to bring people in. And, you know, our goal is to break even on the first month, but now we're breaking even on the second month, right? And granted, we do, you know, we work with you month over month, so we're able to repay that. But, you know, it's a big risk for the business when you're running $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month in paid traffic. You know, a couple clients churn, you have a bad month in terms of close rates, and you're taking a big divot out of your pocket. But it also works for us too, because this is literally what we're asking them to do as well. Like, we're asking attorneys to, if they're doing paid search, like to spend $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month. So, you know, it kind of gives them a little bit of peace of mind that they see us doing it ourselves, and, you know, we live and practice it. But if I was going to do another service after that, it would be Meta. And then we're also like experimenting a little bit more with TikTok ads, because the cost is just so cheap. And there's just very little competition on there. But getting the content right and getting them to deliver us the content is not easy. Not easy.
All right, so you mentioned the top channels for law firms. Let's switch gears and talk about agencies. What do you think are the most important sales channels for agencies? You said yourself that you're driving a lot of leads through ads. Is that your main focus for leads?
Content development. Yeah. If you look at just Webris, YouTube, blog, podcast, I kind of follow the same content strategy for everything. And it's funny, like ads, this is what often happens with just marketing in general. This is pretty much any B2B, right? If your business is an agency or you work on leads, whatever it is, you need to be, I hate to go like cliche Gary Vee, but you need to be all in on content development, because every single sales conversation that we have, again, last touch attribution usually comes from a Facebook ad, but that's because the internet is a connected ecosystem. They've seen our content on YouTube, they've heard our podcasts, they've seen our shorts on TikTok or Instagram, and now Facebook is picking up on that because Facebook has everybody connected through this device, right? So if you have Instagram installed and you have YouTube installed and you have Google, cookies died, but like it's all connected through here at the individual level, right? It's anonymized. I can't see who it is, but like that's why people after watching this who have never heard of me before are probably going to start seeing my ads on Meta for the blueprint training. It's just the way it works. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And that's why the emphasis is really on content, and people quit too early or they don't do enough of it because they look at it and they're like, I'm only getting 30 views on my videos. But it's like, yeah, if you're only making videos for lawyers though, it's like it's topic like SEO for lawyers, link building for whatever it is that you're building, then it's lawyers watching that video. And like 30 lawyers watching your video that you're doing 2-3 times a week is pretty damn good, because that stacks up to 500 times a month, like 500 views on a video, just like videos, not including the other content that you're pushing out across networks, is a lot, right? Like you don't really need a ton of eyeballs on this stuff to really move the needle and get traction. But over time, as you get better at it, you will snowball, you will pick up followers, your videos will grow in organic perpetuity over time. And now, again, every single call, we ask them on the form that they submit, but we also ask them on the discovery call, how'd you find us? And every single person is like, I I don't remember. We watched a bunch of your videos and like we really liked what you had to say. And that also then has the added benefit of having that person come in hyper warmed up. Like I don't have to give them the pitch on like why, like I've never, ever had to say like, this is SEO and this is why it's important. The why is already answered. Now they're just interested in the how and how much does it cost. Like you sold me on your strategy because I've watched so much of your videos. How can you apply this to my law firm and how much is it going to cost me? And they already know the cost too, because it says on the form, like you're paying a minimum of $5,000 a month to work with us. So, you know,
pre-qualified then.
Yeah, in a sense, right? Like the last thing you want to do is have price objections after you've spent hours and hours and hours talking and getting your hopes and emotionally invested in a deal. Those are the types of things you want to iron out before even the first conversation. To me anyways, a lot of people will be like, yeah, get them on and then sell them. I'm like, nah, it's not the way it works in the agency business. It's not a hard sell business. It's a value sell business. You know, like you've really got to be able to convince people that you can get them results and make the money. And in that sense, you know, they have to be willing to make the investment just mentally. So content is a very, very large part of it. And then advertising on Meta is the second part. Like Meta, because we also noticed too, like, you know, if we turn off our Meta ads or decrease our spend, our leads go down with it, even though people are self-identifying saying that they saw our YouTube videos, you know, or they listened to our podcast or something, or they, you know, so in terms of the content. Are
you doing a lot of organic social and then running retargeted ads from Meta? Is that the
not even retargeting? Yeah, not even you don't even have to retarget. Like retargeting is kind of dead. Like retargeting, the first of all, the concept of retargeting in itself, like back in the day, I'm talking about like 2012 when they first created custom audiences. What we used to do was we used to run traffic, click traffic to a page, to a blog post, and then retarget that exact URL. Because what we were saying is that, first of all, the targeting back then was very rudimentary, very different than it is now. It was very much so like targeting people based on what they put into their profiles, right? And people would have all sorts of shit in their profiles back then, you know? So we would run traffic, like let's say for the Blueprint training, because that's where we're advertising the most. We're selling a link building course. So we would put together a blog post on like 10 tips for link building in 2013. And then we would run just traffic to that page. We would get clicks for like a 1 penny, very cheap traffic. And then we would retarget to that with our link building course offer, right? Because we would know that like if they got to that page, they were interested in it. And you could also then like put time on site types of qualifiers on top of it too to retarget that. Very similar to e-commerce, right? It'd be like, hey, you looked at our white shoes, let's follow you around on Facebook until you buy them. So it used to work because that it was much more linear back then, but ever since then, Facebook has constantly stripped away. They've been in battles with like user privacy issues, so many legal issues, cookies dying. They've just been stripped of their front end targeting for the most part. The way that it works now, to me, is actually better because, like I said, Facebook, even on Instagram, like it happened a couple months ago. My wife and I were talking about how we're out of Windex, and 20 minutes later, we're sitting on the couch. She's scrolling Instagram stories, and she gets an ad for Windex. Like, come on, you know, like so.
It's not even subtle.
And that's because anytime you opt into your
thank God, that's all you were talking about.
Yeah, seriously. Anytime you opt into your terms of services to post on Instagram, it says we need access to your microphone and your camera roll, and like we never read it. We just say yes, of course. So, you know, they call it like active listening or soft listening or something. I personally don't have a problem with it because I just know they use it for marketing data. Even so, like I don't care, you can listen to me all you want. So basically, like I said, that's why this like digital ecosystem is so important, because when you're creating all this other content out there, you don't have to tell Facebook to remarket to that. It just knows. So that's why you'll see a lot of like advanced Facebook advertisers now talking about how they put in no targeting, because once Facebook knows who you're targeting, and this is again why specialization is so important, because if you just run an SEO agency or a link building agency, Facebook doesn't know how to target. Like business owners, like that's not good enough. Like you need to be able to make hyper specific offers to a hyper specific audience. Because I have a YouTube channel and a podcast and blogs and an Instagram profile, a TikTok profile, and I do my best to bring in lawyers also on. I have 2 podcasts. One of them just interviews lawyers, and the other one, being my partner, talk about law firm marketing strategies. So I bring those lawyers on, and I put them on my website, and then I get them to share my website and I put clips together for them to share on their Instagram profiles. So like just build this kind of like buzz and ecosystem so the internet knows, you know? So then we're able to just run very specific offers. We run just what we call VSL videos, like a 10-minute video that breaks down basically our SEO strategy. And then there's just a Calendly form underneath the book call. That's where all of our call booking comes from.
Really?
traffic. Yeah, we don't run what we call commercials, right? Like we don't run direct call booking ads. We don't run any of that.
So it's just a video ad slot on YouTube, is it, or across?
On Facebook. So basically,
Facebook.
So if you scroll, you can look at our ads history too on Facebook, just Webris. Like we just launched a couple today that are targeting car accident and divorce lawyers. And it's just me in front of a camera with two toy cars, crashing them together and being like, if you're an accident attorney looking for more cases, like stop scrolling. In the next minute, I'm going to show you how to get more cases. And then I give like,
and you have your Calendly underneath there.
No, so this is an ad. I'll break down the funnel for you. So this is the ad on.
Okay,
Facebook,
yeah.
Right? No, it's good. This is the ad that runs on Facebook, right? And it's giving a preview of the strategy. So it's basically edifying the strategy, saying you spent a lot of money on a lot of tactics that didn't return any sort of results. It's because you were chasing your tail doing the wrong thing. Local SEO is where it's at. So we're introducing the solution that we're going to then present as part of the longer video. So it says, I don't have time to give you the full strategy here, but if you click below on the next page, I have a 10-minute video that's walking you through exactly how we help XYZ law firm get 72 leads last month from local SEO. So then it takes them to a very simple squeeze page, just a picture of me, a headline that says, I don't even know what it says, like why your law firm isn't generating more cases, and then a button that says watch the video. They opt in, we get their name and email, we send them to our email list, and then after they opt in, they get sent to that 10-minute video. So then it's a 10-minute video of me walking them through our local SEO strategy, and then directly underneath that is Calendly embed that says, do you want us to do this for you? Book a time and let's start the conversation. And
then what email sequence then do they get put into an email sequence?
Yeah, the email sequences it's not that email's dead, it's that like people know when they're getting sold and advertised to. So our email sequence is not like a sold sales pitch, it's a watch the video pitch. So they get a 5-day email sequence that says you need to watch this video, and then with a line supporting why that video is important every time we give them a different pitch. Like, this is going to help you generate more leads. This is why your agency's wasting your money, blah, blah, right? Very short and to the point. Because I know that if I can get you to watch a 10-minute video, you're going to become a client. I'm serious. Like it's true. And that's how everyone should feel. And if you don't feel that way, then you have the wrong offer, or like you have the wrong service, like it's the timeshare model. Like, I don't know if you guys have that over there, but here in the States, like they do these timeshares where like they'll give you a free weekend in Vail for you to sit through a 2-hour presentation because they know that like people are going to fucking sign up for it. So it's the same type of thing. So like, it's just, you have to be very specific with the video that you're creating. It has to be very hyper specific to a problem that they're having. We're tackling the macro problem that you're struggling to generate leads. You've wasted a lot of money with agencies and you're frustrated. And it's because, why? Because you were focused on the wrong thing. So the solution is local SEO, and here's the shiny strategy that's going to help you to do that, right? And also we're just betting on the fact that the messaging just has to be very clean and consistent. And again, this is why like specialization is so important, because like I know exactly what drives a lawyer to tick. Like, they're frustrated, they've spent too much money, they're not getting results, and they're mad at agencies, and they're probably locked into a contract now that I can help them get out of, but that's another conversation. And I also know that they don't want to do it themselves. So I'm willing to give them everything. I literally run through an SOP in the video. I'm like, this is the exact SOP. Like, if you become a client, this is the SOP that we use. Take it if you want it. I don't care, because I know you're not going to use it. You're too busy. You don't have the time. But like, I'm just trying to break down all those barriers with them that they've had issues with trust, lack of transparency, a lack of results. So I'm trying to beat back all those objections during that video. I'm showing them actual results from a client. I'm showing them the processes that we've used with other law firms that they might recognize, So it's a very, very, very strategic video, and it's a very, very strategic, it's a pitch, It's like if somebody gives you a 10-minute window to pitch to your target client, like, you're going to come with like everything that you have, I use a presentation deck to do it. I usually just film them on my computer. They actually perform the best. I have a studio that I use too, that, I film a lot of ads and I film a lot of content in too, but, for the most part, like, it doesn't have to be fancy stuff. Like, put on your computer, make sure that you got some decent light and a good microphone, and like, that's all you need. It's so much about the information and the content that you provide, because they don't care about you at the end of the day. They care about themselves, and they care about the problems that they're having. So that's what you want to focus on.
Does this work better for specific industries? Like, does this work better because it's people who don't spend a lot of time and energy on marketing, so they're used to outsourcing it? If your focus is on an industry that's maybe more SEO marketing savvy, is this still a good sales?
Yes. It is. Okay. You just have to change the messaging. Like this is core marketing concepts. Like this is a core marketing concept that is based in human psychology. It's again, like if somebody sits down and watches a 10-minute video, they're going to have a good amount of, they're going to recall the information much better. They're going to have much more of a affinity towards you, right? Because they're seeing your face out there. And if you're speaking to a problem that's very urgent to them, I mean, think about how many offers have you like jumped onto on a Facebook ad that you're like, it just catches you at the right time and you're like, oh shit, that template looks really dope. Or like, this is like, I have been struggling with that before, you know? So it works in anything. It's just taking a core problem that your target audience has and offering them a solution in the form of a video. That's really it, you know? And like, there's a million ways that you can do this. There's like white papers, there's tools and templates. I like video for all the reasons that I said, is that it's much stickier. Like we've tested everything. We've gotten much cheaper opt-ins on the front end in terms of email opt-ins when we give away free templates. We'll get like $2 opt-ins for free templates. People go nuts for free templates, but there's no teeth to that offer. Like they get a template and they're gone. They don't remember who you are. They don't remember what the ad was. They never use them. They just opt in and then they never open your emails. You end up spending a lot of money on your email platform for people that have no idea who you are. Like for us, again, we're very, very strategic that our email list for attorneys, we actually cleanse it every month. Like if we don't see an attorney email extension in our newsletter list, we delete you. Like I don't want you in there. You're just costing me money, you know? So that way over time, that's what we use it for. It's like a long-term nurture. And like, we don't pick up a ton of leads or clients off of it, but maybe like 2 a quarter, you know, 1 every other month, we pick up a new client from it just because we'll send out our latest podcast episodes, our latest updates. We'll keep them informed. Like when Google AI overviews came out, we wrote up like an email saying like, hey, if you're a law firm, like you should read this because it's going to impact your traffic, right? We picked up clients for that, you know? So we're only adding like 30 to 40 emails a month to our list, qualified emails. But over time, again, these things snowball. And we've only been targeting attorneys for like 18 months now. This isn't like a long-term thing that we've been doing. But
Ryan, I'd love to jump in and ask, is this a strategy that you think an agency could run with if they weren't prepared to or didn't have the resources or the time to do the other element of what appears to be the strategy you've described, which is that mass production of content? So you said you are everywhere. You are doing podcast, YouTube, in order to create that like presence and that like multi-touch point. Could an agency just run with this? Like, what I think you've described is like a short video offering value with a click through to a longer 10-minute video explaining exactly what it is that you're going to deliver, and then just a call to action at the end saying, you know, do you want us to do this for you?
Anybody can do it. I'm not special, you know, but most people won't do it. And that's why it works, you know. It's like, I can't even claim this strategy. Like Gary Vee's been talking about this for half a decade now, you know, like Alex Hormozi's been talking about this for years. Like you see people doing it in practice, and most people don't do it for a number of reasons. 1, imposter syndrome. 2, barriers to entry. 3, time. 4, money. It does cost money. I have a full team that has to help me out with this stuff, you know. I'm very lucky because I have 3 companies that are vertically integrated at like the employee level, because we're offering a lot of the same services where like I built a content team that's essentially a third of the cost because I'm using them for my personal channel, the Blueprint training, and then also Webris. So I have 1 project manager that I'm using, that I'm paying 1 salary, that I'm able to split across 3 companies, 1 video editor, 1 designer, you know, that I'm able to 2 writers, you know. So like I've got a full team that helps me out. It costs probably like $8,000 to $10,000 a month just to run this team. But when I split that over 3, it's $2,500 a month. It's not bad at all, like at all. At all. Those are the reasons why people don't do it, because just like anything, just like with these attorney clients too, I tell them everything. I literally give them I don't think you guys understand this. SOP is gold. Like I give them a step-by-step process. I'm like, take this and use it. And they're like, nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. You know, like as soon as they say it, they're like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, let me just talk to you about it, you know? So anybody can do it. Like I'm not special. I've been doing video for a long time, so I've gotten good at it. But like, if you go on my YouTube channel and go back, I've been doing this for 10 years. Like you can go back to the videos 10 years ago and be like, oh, this dude sucked on video back then, you know? But, you know, I put in the time and effort to do it, and I got good at it. It's just a muscle that you have to exercise. So anybody can do it. I encourage you to do it. But that being said, like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like, you're probably not going to do it, because if you had, you would have done it already. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, you know?
Yeah. So most agencies, I think they're not creating content. Or if they are, it kind of sucks. Like, if for smaller agencies who really haven't invested that much into figuring out content, what's the easiest way to get started? And is there like, what platforms do you think they should focus on?
Post on LinkedIn every day.
It's like LinkedIn every day?
Every day. Post on LinkedIn every single day. Just talk about what you're doing. And I think like the sucks is, one way to put it. But like I said, I mean, you, and I'm not picking on you, but I'm just saying like, you're probably looking at somebody who is in a beginning part of that journey. And like, it's going to suck for a while. It's just going to, like, you're going to get no likes. You're going to get 5 views. You're going to get a lot of mean comments. But like, it's part of the process, just like building a business. Like all of this stuff, man, they're all aligned. Like it's all cut from the same cloth, if you will. Like it's all hard, and it's supposed to be hard. Like it's supposed to be hard if you're listening to this. Like it's not supposed to be easy. If it's supposed to be easy, man, everyone would be doing this, but it's hard, and it's supposed to be hard. And that's also why it's so rewarding, because when you do start to get some success, just like anything that's hard in life, you're gonna grow and mature as a human, a man, a woman, like you wouldn't believe. You're going to be more confident. You're going to learn so much too. I mean, just going through this content process where you like have to research and learn stuff and put time and effort into it. Like that's kind of how I learned SEO was by making content about it, because I had to research and learn and talk to people and interview people and test and do things myself, that I was able to speed up my growth 10 years ago when I was learning all this stuff. So post on LinkedIn every day, just talk about what you're doing. And like, if you go back and look at the content I was creating 10 years ago, it's vastly different than what I'm creating today, because back then I was boots on the ground doing SEO. I was doing outreach for link building. I was doing prospecting myself for link building, and that is what I was talking about. And there were people who related to it at that time who watched that content and engaged with it. But over time, as I grew, I've leveled up. I'm talking much more about business strategies now, and people and team and culture and revenue and profits and finances and all these things, because that's what my day-to-day is focused on. That's why I say like it's hard to consider myself an SEO anymore, because I haven't done it in such a long time. I was default to my team for like very SEO-y questions. I'm like, I don't know. Like people ask me all the time about like GBP stuff. I'm like, I don't even know how to find a Google business profile anymore. Like they changed it when it went from GMB to GBP. I'm out.
You are out.
That's it for me.
I'm done.
Yeah. If we talk about high level strategy and bringing people on and finding people and training them and getting people to do that work that are better at me for it, we can have that conversation, because that's what building a business is about. And that's where I'm at in my career. But that's not to knock people who are not there. Like if you are just optimizing Google business profiles, like talk about that. Because that's what and like over time it's going to build, it's going to grow, it's going to snowball. So all this stuff is a working process, and again, too many people, they just quit too early, just like business. Like with content's the same thing. Like it's very competitive and very saturated right now. Like you're not just going to get on LinkedIn and be like, all right, I'm going to talk about SEO, and like it's not going to happen. Like again, beat a dead horse. Like that's why it's so important to specialize. Like you're not going to get on LinkedIn and talk about SEO and have results. But if you get on LinkedIn, you're talking to HVAC about how to get reviews and how to rank in the maps pack and how to run LSAs. Like you're not only going to pick up some traction, but you're going to pick up clients over time. Like if you post every single day, speaking to the person that you want to work with, helping them to solve problems bit by bit by bit by bit. Start walking today. In 30 days, 60 days, 180 days, you are going to be in a completely new place. I promise you.
And is that posting once a day, multiple times a day?
Once
and
a day
do
is
you
fine,
also
yeah. Go ahead.
Do you also have any guidance on what people should post in terms of like personal stuff? Like this is what I've been doing today. Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think keep it strictly business, results driven? What's your take on that?
A little bit of everything. I think one, you should find your own style. It is an exercise in copywriting. If you're not a good writer, then it's going to take some time to kind of understand it. But you can also just go on LinkedIn and see what people are engaging with to see the style. I post some stuff since I've had my child. I've always been a little bit more private on social media. I've never really shared my personal life, but like having a child is such an overwhelmingly big life change, and he's such a big part of my life now that like it's hard for me to not kind of share those moments in my life a little bit. And those tend to get like a very good reaction on LinkedIn. I hate using it like that. I hate like being like, I'm posting but the fact is that like, he's changed how I sleep. He's changed how I work. He's changed how my schedule. He's changed a lot of things in my life, for the better and for worse. And like, I think it's important to talk about those things, because I know a lot of other people that have kids would agree and relate, and they want to comment and share their insights and, talk about what they've been through. Like to me, it's genuine information, it's genuine content. Like the issue that I have sometimes with a lot of content is that some people try and make it too much like they're just trying to get something. I don't know, like it's just inauthentic, I guess is the right word for it. So inside of my program, the Blueprint Training, the biggest pushback that I get from people is they're like, oh, like, of course you can do this. Like, you've been making video, you're a good writer. And I'm like, yeah, but like you are too. Like, there's something that you have that I don't have. I might have some things that you see because you're in my program that you are easily being like, I don't have that, I can't do it. But like, there's plenty of stuff that you guys do that I don't do. That's your gift, right? Like, we all have our own thing. And that's another thing that's so great about going through this process, is that like you're going to discover, if you don't know what that is, you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position to have any sort of growth, to have any sort of learning, right? If you're just sitting there consuming, you're never going to figure that out. So, like I said, the best advice that I have, as cliche as it is like, you just have to start. Just do it. Like, don't be afraid of what people are going to comment on it. Don't be afraid of this and that. Just do it, and just keep doing it every single day. I promise you, 30-day challenge, post every single day, talk about what you did that day. Even if it's stupid, even if it's like, today I built a project, but like, talk about it. How did you build it? What did you put into it? Share a screenshot of it. You know what I mean? Make a Loom video talking about it. Someone's going to care.
And you mentioned like being specialized it will help you get a lot of traction quickly. So I'm curious, like, for these, there's a lot of agencies that are quite broad. How do they find what they should specialize on, and how niche down should you get? Is there such thing as like being too niche down?
If you're just getting started, the more niche, the better. So like, a lot of people want to get into, so like, I can give you a legal example. Like, legal is vertical, but I wouldn't call it like a good like niche, if you will, right? Like, there are so many different practice areas inside of it, and even sub practice areas of those practice areas. I just signed a client yesterday, so there's criminal defense, there's personal injury, there's business, there's tax, there's family, right? And each of those then have practice areas underneath it. So the client that we just closed yesterday is a criminal defense lawyer. Criminal defense, there's DUI, there's domestic violence, there's all sorts of sub-practice areas of that. I'm actually advising our legal clients too that are smaller. I'm like, you should pick a sub-practice area that you want to specialize in, because you are not going to compete for DUI. He was in San Diego. Like, you're just not going to compete as a DUI. You're not going to compete as a criminal defense lawyer, number one. Number two, you're not going to compete for DUI, which is a the specialization of practicing. It's just too competitive. It's too competitive. But domestic violence, specifically domestic violence of like people of a certain type of domestic violence, right? Or like different types of battering crimes like that, like military, because he's in San Diego, like there's a lot of domestic violence and abuse cases, right or wrong, right? So we decided to specialize in that. And within that, a sub-practice area of a sub-practice area, there's 15 different practice areas that we identified, right? Like military, spousal abuse, child neglect, all these different, like that. If you were just doing criminal defense, you would never kind of like focus on those different terms of all those different people. It's too broad. So the same thing applies for the agency that you are building, right? Like, you could be a legal marketing expert, or you could just be a family law marketing expert, or personal injury. Chris Dreyer does $15 million a year. He only does personal injury SEO. That's it. Mm-hmm. Personal injury SEO. That's it. 15 million in revenue, right? Granted, that's a very big and expensive, explosive industry, but home services is another one. People are like, I want to do home services. It's like, okay, what part of it? All of it? No. Like, there's so many, like HVAC, roofing, siding, windows, landscaping, concrete driveways. Like, pick one. And like, the more niche, the better. Health is another one. People are always in my program like, I want to do health. I'm like, that is a very broad niche. Like, what about health? Because a doctor is much different than a plastic surgeon, right? Like, with a doctor, you got to deal with insurance, you got to deal with like the ZocDocs. Like, are you familiar with that? And these are the types of nuances too that are going to make you better at what you do. And like, not only from a content generation point of view, you can talk about, if you're a doctor, like how to beat a ZocDoc. Like, that's a great content topic, right? Because that's something that if you're looking for a doctor, like, you're going to get flooded with those types of websites, versus like a plastic surgeon, right? Elective surgery, they're completely different. And I talk about this in my niche video too, that there's, even within like the elective surgery, like, I really like topic about men now, because men is kind of an underserved thing. I'm in Miami too, so plastic surgery is rampant. It's not even just plastic surgery, it's more like elective procedures that men are choosing to have now, like testosterone, PRP, hair replacement, red light therapy, like all these different things that people are seeing on social media and TikTok that have traditionally been either like a little bit more taboo for men, but they're getting fed that now, like 10X Health, Grant Card, like all that stuff, like ice bath, like all these different things are very good different verticals that you can look into that are a very small part of the niche. You start with that, you get to 10, you get to 25, you get to 50, and then you stack, and now you're already in that vertical. Like you can move your way up to home services and be $100 million agency by just doing home services, and also too, like expanding your offers from there too, where it's not just SEO, it's paid search, it's social, it's websites, CRM management. You can definitely expand those accounts that were once $1,500 to $15,000 a month. Actually, our biggest client that we have is actually a roofer. And we're just continuously adding on additional stuff because the dude is crushing it and it's going very well. So if you're just getting started, to me, the smaller the better, because it's competitive for a lot of these spaces.
That's awesome, Ryan. Really, really good. Okay, so just I think to wrap up, do you have any other tips or tricks to either struggling agencies or site owners that have been decimated with their traffic, nuggets of wisdom to leave our audience with, things that you think are really actionable, something they could take away? Other than everything you've already said to us.
Be open-minded. Like if you got hit by something, like be open-minded. It's not the end of the world. Plenty of people have stood where you stood. Like Penguin was far worse than anything that we've seen now. Back in 2012, Penguin was for those of you who don't know, was a link spam update that wiped out, like really wiped out businesses. Like, and this was the beginning of why Google started ignoring links instead of penalizing them, because all these like small businesses that were working with an agency that didn't know anybody, were just buying links back then, got completely wiped out of the SERPs. I'm talking about like from 50 phone calls a day to 0 visits a day, like just wiped out completely. You'll come back from it, like we always kind of have. And also just being open-minded to understanding that you are not an SEO, you are a driver of results for the type of client that you work with. It's just why specialization is so important, because if you use that example, like if Google goes to shit tomorrow, we're going to be fine, because I specialize in working with lawyers. I don't specialize in working with SEO. Of course, we're very good at it. We do specialize in SEO as a service, offering it to law firms, but it's not our core competency, right? Our core competency is servicing law firm clients. So like focus on the who instead of the what, and you'll always be safe. It doesn't matter. Like no matter what happens, if Google blows up tomorrow, if the internet blows up tomorrow, right? Like what are we going to do if digital all of a sudden goes to shit? Well, then we'll start buying billboards and radio spots and TV spots, like who cares? Like the goal remains the same. And that's the difference for SEOs. Their goal is like keyword rankings and traffic, and they get so obsessed with it and they get so narrow-minded with it, and they get so stuck in a certain way of thinking, and that's why they're so resistant to change. Whereas with me, I'm like, I hope Google blows up tomorrow, because my competitors are not prepared for this. Like they're just not. Like, I hope it blows up tomorrow, because I'm going to go to every single one of their clients and be like, yo, I've got a plan for you, and I'll do it for you for free for a month to prove it to you. That's what I would say. Like it's like, in business is hard. It's supposed to be hard. Like keep your wits about you. Don't get too emotional. Like it's not personal. Everything here is it's building character in a sense. Like don't lash out at people. It's not your team's fault. It's nobody else's fault. It's your responsibility. You will be fine. You will figure it out. There's plenty of opportunities still out there. There's plenty of cash that still flows through the system, regardless of what happens with Google or the market or whoever we elect to a president. Like it's going to be fine.
Oh boy, I'm not ready to talk about that. That's why I moved to Europe, so I didn't have to deal with that anymore. All right, Ryan, this has been a really fantastic talk. Where can people go to find you? I think everyone in our audience is probably familiar with you already. I've been watching you watching your videos for years, but where can we send people to find out more about you?
My YouTube is great, Ryan Stewart. You can also check out the Blueprint training for all of you agencies out there. It's where we have a program dedicated to helping agencies, specifically SEO agencies, basically do everything that we talked about. Specialize, pick a niche, build your offer, deliver an awesome service, get some clients for yourself. It's the Blueprint.training. Amazing program. Appreciate you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Anytime.